अगर आपको बेहतर नतीजे चाहिए, अच्छा इंप्रेशन डालना है और काम पर समय बचाना है, आपके पास ग्रामरली होना चाहिए। ग्रामरली ऐसा है जैसे मेरे पास अपना पर्सनल एडिटर है जो मेरे हर ईमेल, मैसेजेस या लेख पर काम करता है। इसे फ्री में डाउनलोड करें। ग्रामरली से पहले मुझे ऐसा लगता था कि लोग मेरे ईमेल्स को ठीक तरह से समझ नहीं पाते हैं। मैं बहुत ज्यादा लिखती थी, पर अब मैं अपनी बात साफ तौर पर रख पाती हूँ। मैं ग्रामर और स्पेलिंग मिस्टेक्स चेक कर पाती हूँ ईमेल भेजने से पहले।
मैं सीधी बात करता हूँ, इसलिए टोन बदलने वाले फीचर ने विनम्र बने रहने में मेरी मदद की है।
मुझे ग्रामरली मिला, ये 2 मिनट में इंस्टॉल हो गया और तुरंत ही इसने मेरी टाइपिंग बेहतर बना दी। जहाँ भी मैं टाइप करती हूँ, ये मेरे मैसेजेस को और छोटा और स्पष्ट बनाता है, या यूँ कहें कि और प्रभावशाली। सोचिए कैसा होगा कि जो भी आप लिखे वो और बेहतर हो जाए। वो सारे छोटे छोटे सुधार समय के साथ आपकी रीडिंग को बेहतर बनाते हैं।
अगर आपके पास ग्रामरली नहीं है तो अभी इसे मुफ्त में आजमाएं।
When you're a new mom, your life changes. It is hard to keep up with your skincare routine as you're breastfeeding, and whatever you put on your body might affect the little one. My struggles with acne were real and no home remedy or product was working out. That is when this brand approached me to try out their product. A bit skeptical, but when I read it is paraben and colorant free, has an ideal pH of 5.5, made with a German formula, dermatologist tested, I said to myself, let's give it a try. You must be wondering which brand can not only make me feel good but also look great. It's none other than Sebamed, my 3 minutes daily treatment. Sebamed Clear Face Cleansing Foam has Montelene C40, which combats bacteria and prevents pimple. It has panthenol, which soothes inflamed skin. So what are you waiting for? A face wash nahi? Treat karo. Go try this today.
बेबी, स्कूल का टाइम हो गया है बेबी।
2 मिनट्स मम्मा।
इस खटारे को बेच क्यों नहीं देते? शे, आपकी तरह यूजलेस हो गई है। किसका वेट कर रहे हो?
देखा भाई साहब, जबरदस्ती नहलाया तो बुरा लगा ना? ठंड लग रही होगी ना? चलो मम्मा को सॉरी बोलो। सॉरी भाई, सॉरी माँ। आप खुश मम्मा?
छी हट्टू।
ये लो अपना बैग। ज्ञान के सागर में अच्छी तरह डुबकी लगाना। बाय मेरी माँ।
बाय। गुड मॉर्निंग मैम।
ये क्या? तुम आज फिर लेट आए?
मिस एज यूजुअल सम बाइक प्रॉब्लम। ठीक करने में पूरे 20 मिनट लगे कि जूम करके एक इडियट आया और उसने चपाक कर मेरे मुंह पर पानी मारा और बेबी ने उसे व्रूम व्रूम करके।
ऐसा कहानी मैं भी अपने टीचर को सुनाया है। तुम बड़ा होके क्या स्टोरी राइटर बनेगा क्या? हाँ? वैसे कौन है वो?
कौन टीचर? ओह वो मेरा ब्रदर है।
रियल ब्रदर?
फुल्ली रियल।
अच्छा, ये बताओ वो हमेशा इतना सीरियस काहे को रहता है? Is there any problem?
लव फेलियर।
Recent love?
नहीं, लास्ट ईयर की बात है।
That's sad.
वैसे चाहे तो आप ट्राई कर सकते।
अंदर चलो।
हाँ, गुड मॉर्निंग।
गुड मॉर्निंग बेबी। कोई और काम धंधा नहीं है जो टाइम के पहले बेकरी में आ जाता है?
आज फिर से लेट हो गए। बोनी के टाइम पे इतनी लेट आओगे तो सब कस्टमर्स को मैं कैसे संभालूंगा?
किधर है कस्टमर?
वो तो धूप हो या छाव में हमेशा बेचता रहता हूँ पाव, इसलिए सबको संभाल लिया। खैर वो सब छोड़ो। वो स्कूल में बन पाव भेज दिया?
भेज दिया बेबी।
और शादी में नरम पाव?
वो भी भेज दिया।
अब अपने पाव से चलकर काउंटर पे जाओ और धंधे पे ध्यान दो। चलो।
है रास्कल, हमारा चूहा हमी से चाहो।
टीचर से पैसे नहीं लेते।
आप गुरु हैं, दक्षिणा नहीं चाहिए।
फिर से लेट। इसे बेच के ना साइकिल ले लो।
अब मैंने क्या किया?
पता है आपकी वजह से डेली मेरे पहले 2 पीरियड मिस हो जाते हैं। ऐसे तो नर्सरी में फेल होने का हैट्रिक कर लूंगी। वॉकिंग आने वाले स्टूडेंट्स भी टाइम पर पहुंच जाते हैं। आपकी वजह से टीचर अब मुझे लायर भी समझने लगी है।
दुर्घटना से देर भली ना मम्मा।
ये बात जाकर टीचर से बोलिए।
नहीं, मुझे बचपन से टीचर से बहुत डर लगता है।
डरने की जरूरत नहीं है बेबी। हार्ट बीट बढ़ने लगे तो कहना ऑल इज वेल।
He is my friend.
एक्सक्यूज मी मैम।
आज फिर लेट?
आज आँख ही नहीं खुली।
तुम रोज नया बहाना बनाता है। Stand outside.
गुड मॉर्निंग टीचर।
Get in.
लाइन क्लियर हो रही है।
सॉरी, देर हो गई आज।
इतना केयरलेस कैसे हो सकता है तुम? शेव करोगे और भी स्मार्ट लगोगे। डिसिप्लिन नहीं रखोगे तो इसे कैसे सिखाओगे?
आई प्रॉमिस फिर वो लेट नहीं होगी।
कोई मेड नहीं है क्या?
मैं यहाँ नया हूँ, किसी को जानता नहीं।
ओह,
मैं चलूँ? फोर फोर 17 होता है क्या?
ज्यादा स्मार्ट बन रहे हो।
इसका मतलब 17 नहीं होता है।
16।
ओह, कल तुम्हारी स्कूल में एक टीचर से मिला।
कौन सी वाली?
ठीक से याद नहीं। राउंड पेस्ट्री जैसी आईज, क्रीम जैसा कलर, पाँव जैसे गाल।
तुमने तो ठीक से नहीं देखा था ना? एनी टीचर।
देखो निधि, तुम अपना होमवर्क ना ठीक से किया करो, अपनी टीचर को नाराज मत करना।
वाई बेबी?
मुझे एंग्री बर्ड जैसी लगती है।
लाइफ में फर्स्ट टाइम कुछ करेक्ट बोला।
तो होमवर्क कर दूं?
लास्ट टाइम आपने मेरा होमवर्क किया और एंग्री बर्ड मुझ पर बहुत एंग्री हुई। आपको एक बिग लायन ड्रॉ करने बोला, आपने एक बिग डॉगी ड्रॉ कर दिया।
घर चले मम्मा। आज बेकरी में पार्टी ऑर्डर आया था, उसी चक्कर में लेट हो गया, सॉरी।
इट्स ओके।
अरे बाप रे, क्या हुआ मम्मा? ये चोट कैसे लगी?
वो कुमार नाम का मोटू है ना, उसने मुझे मारा।
किस लिए?
उसने मुझे बेकरी कहा। मैंने कहा मैं बेकरी नहीं निवी हूँ। उसने मुझे जमा के दिया।
ओहो, तुमने जवाबी हमला नहीं किया? पर क्यों?
आप ही ने तो सिखाया है, सबसे प्यार करना चाहिए, फाइटिंग बुरी बात होती है।
कहा तो था मेरी बच्ची, पर ये थोड़ी कहा था कि अगर अपनी गलती ना हो तो भी किसी से मार खा लो। जुल्म सहना भी तो गलत है ना?
उसने मेरे साथ रॉन्ग किया बेबी।
बाद में सॉरी बोला था?
उल्टा उसने मुझे दांत दिखाए।
ये तो हद हो गई। उसके वही दांत तोड़
transferred to him.
I'm talking about the 1991 Hyundai. Let's get there. Jonathan brings it back.
Jonathan brought it to my
to your house in June
when I got home from
with
work.
your permission.
No, was not with my permission.
Okay. Did you
He
tell
was-
him to take it?
जब नेमा आंटी इस बात से खबर हुई कि जुनेहा ने रिजाइन दी है तो वो शहरोज को आवाज देती है कि बेटा मेरे पास आ जाओ, मुझे आपसे एक जरूरी बात करनी है। शहरोज फौरन अपनी माँ के पास चला जाता है। नेमा आंटी उन्हें कहती है कि आप जुनेहा की पोस्ट उष्णा को दो, क्योंकि हमारी अपनी लड़की है। उसकी माँ ने जो कुर्बानी दी है उसका एहसान मैं कभी नहीं दे सकती। असल में तो शहरोज उष्णा से बेइंतहा नफरत करता है, लेकिन अपनी माँ की वजह से वो उष्णा को अपने साथ काम पर लगाती है। कुछ दिनों बाद आपस में शहरोज उष्णा को कहता है कि मुझे कोई शौक नहीं तुम्हें यहाँ पर रखने की, लेकिन मैं अपनी माँ से मजबूर था। मैं आपको बता रहा हूँ, अगर तुमने मामूली सी गलती की ना तो मैं आपको यहाँ से निकालने में देर नहीं लगाऊंगा।
Multi-channel marketing was once a forward-looking marketing strategy. Today, it's old news. With top brands using omni-channel marketing, the companies that are still only using multi-channel marketing are playing a new game with old rules. And there's research to back this up. Studies show that brands using omni-channel marketing strategies retain 89% of their customers on average. The companies with no omni-channel efforts, they retain only 39%. With CleverTap, you give customers a consistent, personalized omni-channel experience no matter what device or channel they use. Create synergized marketing campaigns across channels, including push, email, SMS, WhatsApp, and many more. Visit clevertap.com to learn more and get a personalized demo.
Hello, my name is Jerry Stark. I'm an IT professional from Louisville, Kentucky. I was laid off from the company I'd been working for 10 plus years, and I felt like it was important for me to gain some more knowledge in the IT space and come up to date. At the end of the day, I chose Simply Learn because they not only had the self-learning videos, but they also had the live classes and the virtual lab. Transversing the AWS class, I had the perfect blend of live classes versus self-learning videos. Doing the lab work, I was able to take book knowledge and equate it to hands-on knowledge. I would highly recommend Simply Learn to my friends and colleagues.
You were doing the whole day. He wanted to know what happened to the window, to which you replied what?
I said I was leaning up against the glass and it broke.
Ah! There you go. You see, Mrs. Bergman? He may not have gotten an A in science, madam, but eventually you get the answer. Now, that's different from what you swore to in your answer. In your answer, you said, my son didn't do it. Some other dude did it. And that's what he told me before. You see what happens? Don't ever think you're smarter than the judge. Do you understand, sir?
Yeah.
Now, so you told the policeman that you broke the window, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I assume that you wouldn't have told the policeman that you broke the window unless you broke the window.
I was trying to stick up for my friend.
No. Wanting to stick up for your friends is doing exactly what you did to me, which was, I didn't break the window, one of my friends did, but I'm not ratting him out. And if you're not afraid of me, you certainly weren't going to be afraid of a cop on the beat. Because I want to tell you something, as between a cop at the beat and me, there's no match. Do you get it, fool? How much was the window, sir?
It cost $120 to board it up because that had to be done immediately. And then we went to a reputable glass repair company who replaced it for around $1,000.
Not around. Do you have the bill?
Yeah, oh yeah, I have the bill here.
Yeah, just tell me what the bill was to fix it.
$1,081.81.
Mrs. Bergman, is there anything that you want to add, madam? Is this the first time he's been in trouble? Yes, it is. You should not have stuck up for him. It's the wrong message. When you have a child that does the wrong thing, you're supposed to make them do the right thing. And by you making excuses for him, you're not helping him. Do you understand? Good. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,200.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
The kid did it. I had a police.
जब नेमा आंटी इस बात से खबर हुई कि जुनेहा ने रिज़ाइन दी है तो वो शहरोज़ को आवाज़ देती है कि बेटा मेरे पास आ जाओ, मुझे आपसे एक ज़रूरी बात करनी है। शहरोज़ फ़ौरन अपनी
I assume that at one time you...
Next up, music truly inspiring.
All parties in the matter of Lopez versus Lopez. Step forward.
Alfonso Lopez says Joey Lopez owes for a car he's sold him, as well as tow and storage fees, and a ticket.
You two are not related, is that
No,
correct?
ma'am.
Okay. Before you sold him your car, did you know each other?
No, I didn't.
You advertised the car for sale?
Yes.
Where?
I believe on Offers Up. It's a website.
And you never met him before?
I met him through my partner.
So you did know him before?
No, I met him when the transaction happened. I never met him before. I've heard of him, but I never met him.
Okay, you knew each other?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so that was some... I was just trying to figure out why you would sell him a used car that was your car and accept just a down payment for somebody that you didn't know at all. But there was a connection.
Yes, there was a connection.
Okay, and you sold him the car, according to you, for $1,800.
Yes, ma'am.
And he gave you a down payment of $800.
Yes.
And the idea was supposed to pay $100 a month, a week, until it was paid off?
$250 every month.
Every month?
Yes.
Okay. But he only gave you $100. So now he's paid $900 for the $1,800 car. So he's paid for half of it. And when did he give you the $800? Month?
I believe it was like a month and a week after.
Well, give me the month and year.
I believe it's September.
Is that when you purchased the car in September?
No, before that. Oh, no. It was pretty, we did the 2016.
But he didn't pick up the car until...
I actually gave it to him that day. We made a little contract.
Yeah, I see the contract,
Sure.
please. And you let him take the car with just a deposit? Or
Yes, but I actually withheld the pink
the
slip.
title. No, I understand. Okay, so this is what happened. You were driving the car and you got pulled over.
Yes.
When?
I believe it was August 20, it's towards the last week of the month.
So within 3 weeks of having the car.
Yes.
And you were pulled over for whatever you were pulled over for, but they discovered that you didn't have a driver's license.
Yes.
So they impounded the car.
Yes.
And now you've paid $900 for the car, but you didn't fully pay for the car. And I assume that you called Mr. Lopez and let him know what happened.
Well, no, I called his partner because I never had his phone number.
Fine, called you.
Yes.
Would you stand up, please? The same day that it happened.
Yeah, that night I let him know. After that,
That it was impounded.
Yes.
And what date was that?
That was on the end of September. I don't know exact date, Your Honor.
No, it couldn't have been the end of September if he was pulled over in August.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was on the 26th
Of what?
of August.
I actually have his ticket.
Okay, so tell me the conversation that you had.
So he called me that evening. I believe he said he was coming home from work and that he was dropping off somebody. And when he was turning the left on, I'm not exactly what showed him over. Therefore, they did...
Whatever, they took his car.
Yes.
Now, so now we have this situation, which is not unusual. Now the car is an impound, you have the title.
Yes.
So they can't release the car to him because he has no license. You didn't know he had no license.
No.
Because that's not something you usually ask somebody, an adult. Do you have a driver's license? If you're buying a car, you presuppose that they have a driver's license if you're selling a I use car party to party. So what he wants you to do is sign the pink slip over to him so he can go get the car. That's what he says. That's what he says in his answer. So what he wanted you to do was, before he paid for the car, so he could get the car out of impound, that's what you wrote here. You wanted him to sign the car.
Yeah, because they said if I got my license with Dean, I could pull it out.
Well, why would he? You wanted him to trust you.
Yeah.
Why?
Judge Lopez is suing Joey Lopez for tow and storage fees, the unpaid cost of a car, and an unpaid ticket.
Here's your problem with your lawsuit, sir. You have no problem with part of your lawsuit,
Okay.
and that is for the full value of the car.
Okay.
But you let the car sit there in storage.
Well, technically.
No, not technically.
Okay, hold on.
You're suing for storage fees. Now, you could have gone down and said, you know what, I got $900 for this car. I'm not giving it to him.
But I couldn't because they put a 30-day hold on it. He actually gave him the ticket.
Just a second. Days
30.
that it was on. 30.
Yes. That's where the 2,000 something come in.
They put a 30-day hold. May I see that,
Yes,
please?
ma'am.
What was this one?
Right here.
And right here. It says
Oh,
30 days.
and right here it says 30 days. And here's his ticket.
So
that
you
he
couldn't take it out?
No. I tried to. So he wouldn't pay all the storage fees. So he wouldn't lose the car. I didn't want to, go
Well,
through
he's
this
not going to
problem.
pay $3,000 for storage fees for a car that's only worth $1,800.
Exactly. And he actually
Now,
contacted...
all I want you to do is show me where it says that there's a 30-day hold on the car.
Can I go?
Would you ask him just to show that to me?
Right here it says 30 days.
30 days.
See, it's very highly there.
Very, very, very. 30-day hold.
Right on the top. It says 30 days.
And the reason why we have his ticket, because he contacted Justin and told him, here's my ticket. Can you have Alfonso try to get the car out? I went in. It was closed that day. So I went, I believe 2 days after, which was on Monday. I went in at 11 o'clock to see if they would release the car. And they told me the only way they would release it if I would say he stole it. Not for 30-day hold unless he got his license.
Because what they're doing is they're making you an insurer. They're making people uninsured to ask that question if you sell somebody a car or if you let them borrow the car, let me see your driver's license. If I say to Bird, I'd like to borrow your car, he says to me, fine, I just need it for an hour. You say, let me see your driver's license.
Exactly.
They want people to do that so that you don't have unlicensed people driving around. Yeah, right, I got it. That was sort of interesting. They made you an insurer of his good behavior. You owe him $3,800. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
All these shoes, you may step out. Be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Neal, it is your claim that the Betancourt's German Shepherd attacked your dog.
That's correct.
And caused serious injury. Your vet bills were very high. The Betancourts say that they're very sorry that your dog was attacked, but it was some other German Shepherd. So tell me when and where this happened.
On October 22nd, my boyfriend Jesse...
Of this year?
Of this year, 2016. My boyfriend Jesse and I were at the park with my grandson and my granddaughter. We were walking on the dog path, which is generally where you walk, where you're just going to walk with your dog, not throw the ball. There's a field for that. So Jack was about 2 or 3 feet ahead of us when I noticed another
Jack.
German... Yes, this would be Jack.
It's Jack.
And Jack is 3 years old.
And he was not on a leash.
Not on a leash, because it's an off-leash park, but there are regulations, and I do have copies of the park rules and regulations. And he was just about 2 or 3 feet ahead of us when I noticed another dog, German Shepherd, come off to the side, start sniffing around. That's usually how they say hi. They sniff each other.
Okay, so this was a large dog that was alone.
A large German Shepherd. She did not appear at that time to have an owner.
Well, you assumed that someone was around. She didn't look like a stray dog.
Right.
Go ahead.
So after she nosed Jack a couple times, sniffed him, I thought, well, this is okay. She got aggressive. She picked him up by his sweater. She had him in her mouth. She shook him 2 or 3 times, pretty aggressively.
So he was wearing a sweater?
Yes, he was wearing a dog sweater. At that point, my boyfriend Jesse intervened, pulled Jack. I got a couple defensive wounds on both my hands because he was spinning in a circle. He was just frantic. Before I could pick him up, the dog escaped its collar again, grabbing Jack.
So the German Shepherd got out of his collar?
Yes, slipped out of the collar, which was not on tight, and that is an assumption. I will say that because I didn't see the collar, and picked him up again.
But your boyfriend was holding him back?
Yes.
And he slipped out and came in back and attacked your dog again?
Yeah.
Well, were you holding your dog at that time?
I had not been able to retrieve him. She swooped in too quickly and got him again. And that's when Jesse jumped in again, pulled her off, and restrained her. At that time, a bystander, I don't know who she was, God bless her, helped me. We threw my jacket around Jack, picked him up, and held him close like that. And it was very difficult to do because He was in a lot of pain. He was crying. He was in an awful lot of pain.
Where was the German Shepherd at that time?
Jesse had her restrained.
Okay.
And while he was restraining her at that point, that's when I noticed Miss Betancourt come up. She did offer an apology.
She?
Yes, she. She offered an apology. She had small children with her.
What did she say? She didn't say, I apologize. What
She
did she
did
say?
say she was sorry.
She said, I'm sorry. What else did she say?
At that time, I have got to be honest, admit, I was more concerned with Jack, and Jack was still yelping. All I heard was, I'm sorry. My conversation with her was that I wanted her phone number because we were going to leave immediately. Yes, she did.
Who wrote down the phone number?
I put it in my phone. We didn't have pens or pencils, you know.
Okay. Took the dog to the vet. Can I see the vet bills, please?
Yes, I'd like to hand him off because he's not real comfortable. You're not comfortable, Jack. I'm really sorry. Okay, let me flip to the back. This would be the initial vet bill. There was an additional vet bill. This is the breakdown of how those charges were.
Now, I assume you contacted Miss Betancourt at some point after you had the dog tended to by a veterinarian and surgery was completed. On what date did you contact her?
Well, actually, I contacted her immediately, hours after the initial incident.
Okay.
It wasn't just one vet visit.
Okay. So she gave you her correct phone number.
She did.
And can you tell me the conversation that you had with her?
I was not able to converse with her when I first tried to call her and text her. I got no response. And then I need to explain that at that time there was a lot of trauma. We hadn't even been able to get Jack out of our car. He was in so much pain. There was a lot of trauma.
When did you finally reach Miss Betancourt?
Later on in the late afternoon.
Of the 22nd?
Yes.
And tell me about the conversation.
She called me back and she was upset with me for leaving messages, insisting that she call, insisting that they talk to us about doing the right things.
Just a second. I want you to tell me what she said.
Well, when I first picked up the phone and she called, her tone was irate and it was along the lines of, I don't need you leaving me messages like this. The message I left her was after numerous attempts to call her, and I was distraught and I was irate and I was, you need to contact.
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so she said you have to stop leaving me messages like this, and then?
And then when I spoke to her, the end of our conversation was, your husband needs to contact Jesse. They need to talk about how we're going to resolve this issue.
And what did she say?
And she said that would take place.
Did it?
It did take place.
So her husband contacted your boyfriend?
Well, there were things that happened in between. I'll make it as brief as I can.
I just want to know what your conversations were with the defendants.
Okay.
I want to hear how they responded. Did you have the next conversation?
He had the next conversation.
Tell me what your last name is, sir.
Lara, L-A-R-A.
Mr. Lara, you spoke to Mr. Betancourt?
Yes, I did.
Do you recall the date?
On the 23rd, the day after.
The day after. You contacted him?
He finally called me. I just walked out of the police department to file a report. He called, yelling at me.
What did he say?
Saying that there's no reason for us to be harassing his wife. She's very ill. She gets panic attacks where she falls down and she's immobilized for 30 minutes or so. Things we didn't know.
What did he say?
He said that Al told me that we had no case. And I said, Joey, we do have a case against you. He said, well, we should have talked man to man. And I just said...
What does that mean, you should have talked man to man?
I never said those words.
Well, tell me what you said.
What I said was I just was a little irate about how he said, all I want to do is I just want to meet with you guys and go over exactly what happened. Well, that's great. Be adults, because we're all adults. Explain to me what happened. I'd love to meet with you. I never once said, let's talk man to man. That's not my lingo. So that's kind of all that happened was that he just wanted to explain what's going on. So
good. You weren't there.
At the park?
Yes.
Oh, yes, I was.
Oh.
Yes, I was at the park.
So I want you to tell me you were there with your wife and how many children?
3. We have 3.
How old are they?
2-year-old. Well, she's going to be 2. 8 and 10. Sorry.
Now, when your wife came up to the plaintiffs, where were you?
I was kind of still in the back.
In the back where?
Like running from the field going to that location. I kind of have a bad back, so running that way was going to be a problem. So.
What were you running from the field for?
To see what was going on. She started running with the baby.
Just a minute. So she's holding the baby and started to run.
Right.
And you were running after her.
Correct.
You didn't know why you were running after her?
All I seen was a big tussle going on over there, and I was just running to see what's going on with her because she just took off with my son, so. And she was running towards that. It's a big field.
How big?
2 football fields, probably. It's kind of long, yeah.
So you were 2 football fields away from where your wife started running to where the action was?
Correct.
When you finally got to where your wife and baby were, did Lara doing?
He was standing there. I mean, he was holding a dog.
And where was your dog?
Nowhere to be found. Just kind of ran away.
Just a second.
Correct.
Your dog was nowhere. You have anything to say to me? You have anything to say to me?
Yes.
Just be careful what you say to me.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. I have some evidence of some of the voice messages that Michelle had
I don't
left
care.
me.
What your responsibility was to say, I was not in control of my dog. I was not in control of my dog. My dog caused damage, whatever the damage is, because I was not in control of my dog. Just because the dog can be off leash doesn't mean you can't be in control of your dog. So you should have called her back immediately, because she's upset. Just as you would be upset if her little dog ran up to your 2-year-old and bit your 2-year-old. You would be very upset if she didn't have control of her dog. And this little dog did damage to your 2-year-old. You would be upset. And if you call and you don't get a response because you're being blown off, because you see that it's going to cost you money, because you know that the dog was injured, and your stupid answer says, it wasn't my German Shepherd. What's your name?
Adam Lawson.
And you bring along this fibber over here. You said, I have a witness that said my dog was with us all the time. That would be you. They brought you along to be the fibber. Because your friend here says the dog was 2 football fields away. You didn't want to make a fool out of you. Put your hand down. I didn't want to make a fool out of you. He made a fool out of you. Why would you let another adult make a fool out of you? In front of me?
Your Honor.
I eat you for breakfast. Mr. Copeland, I'm going to start with you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
About 2 years ago,
Yes.
you and Mr. Caldwell, who worked in the same place and who were co-workers, got into an altercation. The altercation happened on the 20th of May, a little more than 2 years ago. It sounds as if there had been a bet between the two of you.
Yes.
You wagered on something. What was it that you wagered on?
Bet over a basketball game.
Had you wagered on basketball games before with the plaintiff?
Yeah, it's been one other previous time. And both times, well, the first time he paid me, the second time he didn't pay me. And
Okay. So it was just the two of you who were betting?
That's it. No friendly bet.
First time he paid, second time, which is around May 2014, he didn't pay you. How much did he owe you?
$100.
And when had this wager been made? In what month?
March.
Had you asked him for the money between March and May?
Yeah, we've been texting, coercing back and forth, talking about it. He was giving me all these excuses about why he wasn't paying me and stuff like that. So what I did was, when I seen him in May, I asked him, and that's when the altercation started.
That took place after work?
Yeah, this is like, we had been off the job for like more than 2 years.
So you hadn't worked together?
No, we hadn't worked together in a while. We just...
Okay, this happened in a parking lot?
Yes.
Of whose workplace?
Neither one of our workplace.
So it was just a parking lot?
Where, actually there's AutoZone, and then there's a food bazaar there, right? That's a supermarket, and they have food there. And there's a couple of guys over there that do a little side work. One of the guys over there actually worked with us as well.
But had you made an appointment to meet Mr. Caldwell? Or
No.
it was just...
No, he just showed up.
And at that time, you went over to him to ask him about his money?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to stop you from there. So now I have the basics of what it was about.
Okay.
So, Mr. Caldwell, you're in the parking lot. Mr. Copeland comes in, and...
It's still like this, right? I drove up to the parking lot. I was walking to a friend of mine's car, right? I got out my car, right? And his car was about 10 feet away from me. So I walked over to his car. He called me first, right? I said, hold that 1 minute, right? And then I went to the other car. Then I got in the car, right?
So you got in the other car?
Yeah, right? And I finished with the person I was in the car with. I got out, right? And I was walking back to my car. And that's when he called me. And I said, okay, what you want? He said, I need my money. You want me to snap? I'm getting my car fixed, worked on. I said, I ain't got it right now because I just got hurt on my job, right? So I don't have it right now. I'm on compensation. And compensation don't pay nothing. And I got other bills besides you. So you're not like priority right now. I got other bills. I do owe you $100. I know I do. But right now I just got hurt, so I'm on compensation. And compensation don't pay nothing, so I got other bills. And then when I get it, then I give it to you.
So you told him that you didn't have any money?
Yeah, I didn't have it, right?
Okay, and what did he do?
He said, well, I can't wait. So he said, we're gonna start fighting me, right? And then I had to block this punch right now. I started walking backwards. And then when I was walking backwards, right, I fell. My leg gave out on me because I was hurt. So my leg gave out on me. And so I fell on the ground. As soon as I fell on the ground, right, that's when he started punching me. And I could do nothing about it because I was hurt already.
While you were on the ground?
Yeah, while I was on the ground. And then when he was on punch me, right, he took my chain, ripped my chain off. I grabbed a piece of it, right? This is the piece right here. I had to make it into a bracelet now because the chain is gone and I only got a piece of it.
Okay, so after he was punching you, did he at some point leave?
No. He kept hitting me. Then he got up, right? And he kicked me my side, right? And then the reason why he left, right? Somebody said, call the cops. Some girl says, call the cops. So that's why he left. And then I got up right away. I was bleeding from the face and everything because he had rings on, so he cut my face and everything. So I had rings on my face, come off my face and everything. Then I got in my car, so he left. I got in my car and I followed him. At the same time, I was calling the cops on him. And then when I called the cops, right, finally they caught up on him on Franklin Avenue. So the police stopped his car? No. He got out, he parked his car, and he got out, right? And he was walking when he first stopped. And I said, he's over here in Franklin Avenue. Then the cops came, right around, and they pulled him and stopped him.
May I see the police report?
Correct.
That's correct, ma'am.
And you were charged with assault.
Yes.
That's what this case is about. Mr. Caldwell is suing you for the assault, and you have a cross-complaint, and your cross-complaint was for filing a false report with the police. And you are suing him on your cross-complaint for the same amount that he's suing you for $5,000.
Yes.
That's what the case is about. Okay. Did you receive the cross back? Police found the cross.
Yeah, they gave me the cross back.
Okay, Mr. Copeland, let's hear your version of the events.
Okay. Your Honor, I was in the parking lot talking to a couple of friends. I was actually on the phone at the time he rolled in. I got off the phone. Like he said, he got into the car. He got out the car. I called him, and we talked. And I asked him, I said, when do you think you'd be able to pay me? Like he said, I was trying to get my car fixed. He said, I don't have the money right now. He started getting all loud, and he swung at me.
Show me how he swung at you.
He swung his arm at me, and I ducked, and I hit him 2 times in defense, right? He backs up. I hit him, right? And then he grabbed me. And then we started wrestling to the ground. And through some course of that, maybe his chain broke or whatever, I realized, you know what I'm saying, I didn't need to be there. So I got in my car.
What happened to the cross?
I don't know. I don't know what happened to his cross. I got in the car. I left. He was following me, right? And then I ended up going down by my daughter's mother's house. I parked the car there, walked around the corner. He's coming around the corner trying to, when the police pull up, they apprehended me and they put me in the car because he was cut under his eye or whatever. I never wear no rings. He talking about me wearing rings. I didn't wear no rings. And that was the version of the arrest.
Let's move on.
Okay.
You were arrested.
Mm-hmm.
You were assigned an attorney or you retained an attorney?
No, I was assigned attorney, public defender.
You were assigned a public defender.
Yes.
And the case proceeded through the court system.
Mm-hmm.
The case is no longer pending.
No.
The case was resolved.
Right.
I want you to tell me how the case was resolved.
Okay, for 2 years.
Don't give me a whole song and dance. Did you plead no contest or guilty to a lesser charge?
Yes.
Then your counterclaim is done. Because the burden of proof in a criminal case is proof by beyond a reasonable doubt. Burden of proof in a civil proceeding such as here is a much lower burden. When the judge took your plea, the judge asked you if you understood that you had the right to have a trial where the people would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you committed the crime of, what did you plead guilty to?
Disorderly conduct.
Disorderly conduct. I'll take what the plaintiff has, please. And the disorderly conduct that you pled guilty to was relevant to this act of May 20th, 2014, not to another act, but to this act. Right. So your counterclaims, a mandatory surcharge of $95. Did you pay that?
Yes.
And a crime victim fee of $25. Did you pay that?
Yes.
And as a result of that, you were originally charged with assault with intent to cause physical injury, and it was reduced to creating a dangerous something and petty larceny. And I assume the petty larceny was the result of the chain. But the guilty plea was to 1 count of disorderly conduct and full satisfaction of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charges. Right? Okay.
Your Honor, if I may.
You can't anything you like, but this is what you pled guilty to. You pled guilty.
Yeah, but I was in the court system for 2 years, pleading my case, right? Going back and forth every month. I couldn't even take a job because jobs wanted to bond me. I couldn't even get bonded for jobs.
You shouldn't have bothered him in the parking lot. You shouldn't have bothered him in the parking lot.
Judge Judy continues. Danny Copeland assaulted him over a bet. Danny is countersuing, claiming Richard filed false charges with police.
Now, you shouldn't have bothered him in the parking lot.
I was just confronting him about the situation.
You confronted him in the parking lot about
so it was
a gambling
good for him
debt.
to swing on me and start the fight?
I don't believe that he swung on you at all, sir. I believe that you were frustrated with his text messages.
Frustrated.
I don't believe any difference what I believe,
can show you the
sir.
same text messages I have, too.
Listen to me. It doesn't make any difference what I believe. You pled guilty. That was the result of the criminal case.
After 2 years, Your Honor, I need a job. I have to go to work.
Great.
Who's going to pay my bills?
Counterclaim is dismissed. Judgment for Ms. Moran, it is your claim that while you were dating Mr. Barnes, you made 2 loans to him. One was to purchase a motorcycle, and the other was for some legal fees that he incurred when the motorcycle was impounded for some reason, which you will explain to me. While Mr. Barnes acknowledges, I believe, that you gave him money for the motorcycle, he says it was just that, a gift, as well as the legal fees. So I'm going to start with you, Mr. Barnes. How old are you, sir?
I'm 33.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a physical therapist.
You work independently or through a company?
I work for a hospital.
How long have you worked in that?
I've been in the physical therapy industry for about 3 years.
Were you ever living with the plaintiff?
For about a month, yes.
When? What month?
The end of July, July 31st, I want to say to about August 15th or 16th.
Well, that's 2 weeks.
Well, it seemed about a month. It was probably about 3 weeks. I would say I moved out the 21st. It was a Saturday.
And what day did you purchase the motorcycle?
Beginning of August. It was early August.
August 19th was the day that we purchased the motorcycle.
Okay. Well, then you didn't leave on the 15th of August.
I moved out before we had purchased the motorcycle.
Tell me why.
I caught her in bed with another guy.
Well, that's sort of interesting. Then why was the gift, do you believe?
Because pretty much every time she got caught doing something, she figured she would pretty much buy my love. The reason she bought the motorcycle is because I was taking care of my mom. She was just getting over cancer, and I'd quit my job. And I didn't have a job. I was doing personal training at the time. And she was like, come over to my house. She lives in Rockland. I live in Oak Grove. It's about a 40-mile commute. And I was like, I just sold my car lifting back and forth to her house. So she was like, I know.
Could try at age 33 to eliminate the word like from your vocabulary.
I apologize. So she would get tired of me lifting to her house. So she said, I'll just...
Well, all right. Explain this to me. On the 15th of August, according to you, found that she had cheated on your relationship. That's what you say. I'm not taking that for the truth of the statement, but that's what he said. And you left the house. Tell me how the motorcycle came about.
She wanted me to come over, and I said I didn't have a ride.
So you mean within a few days?
No, actually that same night. And I was like, I'm not coming over. I'm not going to talk to you. And then she got off work at 7 in the morning, and she came over to my house. And I was like, leave. I don't want to talk to you.
So she came to where you were living?
Yes.
Is that with your mother?
Yes.
She drove?
Yes.
So that would have been on the 16th?
The next morning, yes, because I left on the 15th.
And what happened on the 17th?
I believe along the lines was...
Don't believe. I'm still trying to figure out how the motorcycle got purchased on the 19th.
Well, it was like a 4-day process because she couldn't pull out all the money at one time because she has an online bank.
Just a second.
But we already had agreed to talk.
No, come back to me.
I'm fine.
We're on the 15th.
Yes, ma'am.
You left.
Yes.
Are you telling me that you had been in discussions with her previously about the motorcycle?
Before I even had moved out.
Before you? Oh,
yes.
Okay. So now we have to go back. You had a discussion about the motorcycle.
Yes,
when did those discussions start?
Right after we came back from Vegas, August 1st.
Tell me about the discussion.
She said, let's buy you a car. And I said, no, I don't want to buy a car right now. Insurance is too much. I can't afford it. And I said, it'd just be cheaper if we got a bike because it's $20 to fill up the gas tank and I won't get caught in traffic. And then I can get to your house faster so you won't complain about me being in traffic because there's major traffic for like 15 miles to our house.
You're very charitable. Keep going.
And I was like, well, there's no way I can afford a bike right now because, my finances. I was like, maybe we could just get an old bike.
It worked. If
We
you
tried.
both went and picked up the bike, evidently paying you off with the bike worked.
It worked for the meantime, yes.
So you were able to get over your bruised ego in 4 days with the bike.
Pretty
I'm
much.
just trying to bike. Did you put the bike in your name?
No,
In whose name?
it never got registered.
When were you pulled over on the bike?
2 days later.
So the original owner of the bike's name is still on the title.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you pulled over for?
My license plate on the motorcycle was on the frame and it's supposed to be under the taillight. So my license plate was in proper view.
Did you have a driver's license?
No, I had
Then
made
that's
plans.
why the bike was impounded.
Yes, ma'am.
Because it wasn't impounded because the license plate was on in the same place.
No,
'Cause
I was pulled over because of the license plate. And when he
Yeah,
pulled
but
me
then
over,
they pulled you over and you had no driver's license.
I didn't have a Class A motorcycle's license.
And you weren't supposed to drive a motorcycle.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's why they impounded it.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, at that time, were you working as a personal trainer?
No, I had just gotten my job as a physical therapist.
And you had gotten the job back because you now had transportation?
I applied for the job. My mom's cancer just had went into remission and everything was fine and I was able to work. And then I applied at the hospital and I got hired.
And you drove to the hospital on the...
Motorcycle, yes.
Now, you had some issues. Did you hire a lawyer?
I did.
For what?
Just legal fees and to appear in court for me because I was working at the time when I couldn't get the day off.
And when were you supposed to appear in court?
It was like 3 weeks later.
Okay, so 3 weeks later, after the bike is in impound, where are you living?
Back in my mother's house.
Not staying with her at all?
No.
Never.
I'd go back and forth.
And
I'd go back and forth.
You know, that's some pieces that are not going to make
I'd
sense.
go back and forth to her house.
So that you were back and forth with her. So when you said the relationship was over on the 15th or the 19th, that's a lie.
Our relationship was over, but we continued to still talk, and I'd go hang out with her, and we'd see each other.
Right. And sufficiently so that when you needed legal fees, you took some more money.
No, it wasn't even about that.
What was it about?
I tried to help her. She was involved in a lot of stuff, and I'd be like, I gave her ultimatums. I was like, if you want me to come back in your life, you have to stop drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning when you wake up. I was like, you have to stop lying. You have to stop doing this. I have text messages of me saying, hey, these are the things that I need you to do before I come back into your life. And while you're working on these things, I'm willing to be a part of your life. Because I just didn't want to leave her and just 86 out of her life. I didn't want to be like that. Regardless of how she tried to buy my love back, I didn't want to be that guy and just leave.
I'm just asking you about $300 for legal fees. I'm not asking you to defame her.
I wasn't
I'm
defaming
asking
her.
you about the $300 in legal fees.
Well, you had asked me about why I was going back and forth.
No, I'm asking you about
The $350 in legal fees. I hadn't gotten my first paycheck, and she was like, I'll take care of your legal fees. And I said, okay, I'll take care of the lawyer. She paid the beginning part of, like, she paid the beginning part of the lawyer.
And how much was the lawyer altogether?
The lawyer altogether, I believe, was...
And the name of the lawyer?
$1,800. I couldn't recall. It was Wilkinson.
And he charged you $1,800?
Yes, ma'am.
Where'd you get the other money from?
I used my own personal money because I didn't have the money at the time to retain for that.
And he appeared for you how many times?
Just one time.
And when she gave you the $300, what did you say to her?
I told her I needed it for the lawyer, and I said thank you. We went to go pick up the money. We rode to the lawyer's office. I ran upstairs. I gave it to him, and I came back downstairs.
Okay. So the motorcycle was $2,400?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's an impound?
I have no idea where it is.
You don't have it, though?
No, ma'am.
So it must still be an impound.
I have
It's
no
not
idea.
registered in your name.
She held it hostage. I have no idea where it's
She
at or
can't
what's
hold it
going on.
hostage if you have a motorcycle.
She never
You've
gave
got-
me the pink slip.
Is that right?
Yes, because it was not a gift.
Just a second. So you retained the pink slip?
Yes.
Then you don't get the money for it. Then you should have registered it and gotten it out of impound.
Yes, it was.
Good. So fine. If you did not give him the pink slip, then he cannot, because he's not the title holder, get it out of impound. You have to do that. And if right now, which is months later, either they've auctioned it off because you didn't do anything, you woke up a little too late.
The license. You need a license to get it out. I didn't know at the time when I bought it that he didn't have a license.
Just a second. You get a license.
Do you have to
You get
actually ride a
license.
motorcycle? To do
Yeah,
it?
I have no idea. It's nothing that you even looked into.
She knows the process. We
Just
sat
a
at the
second.
computer and
Wait,
looked
just
at
a
it
second.
together.
She doesn't get the money for the motorcycle because she owns the motorcycle. She has the pink slip. She does get the $300, though, for your legal fees. That was your fault.
That's fine.
Now, let's talk about your defamation. I'm listening because you have the counterpoint.
Okay, so one day is or what she does, and she sends me this random Facebook message about a fake profile on POF and her getting a message from some girl saying, beware of this guy. I have no idea who this girl is. I don't even know what POF is. It's
Oh, I don't either.
online dating site or something like
I
that.
don't know.
I have no idea.
So, what else?
And then I have a message from I do personal training. I have a text message from my client saying she didn't retain my services anymore because of the things they were seeing online. There's another online article about me saying that I use women, I have unprotected sex with everybody that I come across with, or something. And if you'd like to see a text message from my client.
Well, this is sort of your version of Yelp.
I have no idea. I don't know what any of those things are.
Okay. Well,
I even have text messages from my clients' counseling services for their training because they were told from other friends because she went around gossiping. So, I mean, she knew that I just had started working at the job that I was at, and she would go around. She even called my job trying to get me fired. So, I mean...
listen to me, sir. She's angry.
She's an addicted because I let her. If you look at the dates, those are October and November, 2 months after I left her, and she's still like acting like a little kid, making fake profiles. Like, who does that?
Who does that?
What do you mean who doesn't? A normal person doesn't. I would never do that to her.
You asked me a question. I'm going to answer that question.
I wanted to warn other women. I really did want to warn other women.
Well, you don't have to be on a mission. Understand?
Yes, everything that he said is a lie, and I have proof everything that he said.
Just a second.
And later today,
When are you getting your refund back?
Well, honestly, Your Honor,
No, don't honestly. Did you get a refund back on your taxes for
No, I
last
did
year?
not, ma'am.
Did you tell her you were expecting it?
No, I did not.
That is a lie, Your Honor.
Warren says ex-boyfriend John Barnes owes for loans. John is countersuing for defamation of character.
Listen to me, sir. She's angry.
She's an addicted because I let her. If you look at the dates, those are October and November, 2 months after I left her, and she's still like acting like a little kid, making fake profiles. Like, who does that?
Who does that?
What do you mean who doesn't? A normal person doesn't. I would never do that to her.
Somebody who doesn't have anything better to do does that. Somebody who has no life does that.
I wanted to warn other women because I really did want to warn other women.
You don't have to be on a mission.
Well,
You don't have to be on a mission because there will come a time when somebody will say to you, "You've crossed the line." Do you understand?
Yes, everything that he said is a lie, and I have proof. Everything that he said.
Just a second.
Yeah.
You're not entitled to the money for the bike because the bike is yours. You have the pink slip for the bike, and you were the only one who could get the bike. Waited 6 months to come to this juncture, but he did not have the power to get the bike out. You did. Then sell it and sue him for the difference if you think it was a loan. But right now, you control the bike. So you can't get money for the bike. You can, however, get money for what I perceive as a loan for your legal fees because you didn't have those.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not so quite sure that her posting online to beware of you because you use and abuse women, because you actually
almost conceded that yourself. You said, well, I caught her cheating on me on the 15th, so I moved out. But then she said she would buy me a motorcycle 4 days later. So I moved back in. But then I didn't really move back in. I went to my mother's. I just went over to see her occasionally. So that sounds to me like a guy who does use women. Now, I'm not going to ask you about this unprotected sex. It would be TMI for me. Okay? Only you know that.
Right.
So your counterclaim for defamation is dismissed, judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $300, and we are
Wait,
finished.
ma'am.
We are finished.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'd catch her cheating, and that's the way she'd buy me back. She'd be like, okay, well,
I have found since that he has done that too.
let's go shopping today. And then after shopping, she just kidnapped me, and I'd go back to her house.
4 people. And
So she was in the wrong for trying to slander my name, and she was just mad.
I honestly did that because to warn other women.
She was just being vindictive. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm just glad it's over.
There's bad guys out there. Don't believe everything they say.
There's no plan with her. She's 86. She's something I used to know.
Don't give a guy money. Ever.
And now, the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCraney versus Dykes. Step forward.
Destiny McCraney is suing her ex-boyfriend, Gary Dykes, for an unpaid loan to fix his car.
Mr. Dykes, how long were you and the plaintiff dating?
4 or 5 months before we moved in together.
And how long were you living together?
8, 9 months.
Moved in together? Do you remember?
It was back in January.
Of this year?
Yes.
And in what month did you give him $1,800 to buy a car?
The beginning of May.
And in what month did you move out?
Somewhere around June.
So the next month?
Yeah.
And you used the $1,800 that she gave you in May to buy a
Car.
Why didn't you use your own money?
To be honest, Your Honor, I didn't have the money at the time.
If you didn't have the money, tell me what you said to the plaintiff.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The only thing I'm guilty of is taking advantage of a friend. How did you take advantage of your friend?
Not her.
Who? Who wrote?
Dykes for an unpaid loan to fix his car.
Now, you used the $1,800 that she gave you in May to buy
Car.
Why didn't you use your own money?
To be honest, Your Honor, I didn't have the money at the time.
So if you didn't have the money, tell me what you said to the plaintiff.
Basically,
Not basically. I want you to tell me. It's not so long ago what you said to her and what she said to you.
Well, I told her that I needed some money to pay down on a car, and she was concerned about me going to work and helping her pay the bills and things of that nature. So,
helping you pay your own bills.
Well, we was having an apartment together.
Right. So you were paying your own bills. You weren't paying her bills. You were paying your own bills.
Right. That's why I say helping pay the bills.
So you needed a down payment on a car, and
she said, well, I have a little money saved up, and she said, I can give you $1,800.
I never heard those two words put together. I can loan, I can give you $1,800.
Well, Your Honor, she did give me the $1,800.
Well, the question is, the first thing you said was, she said, I have some money saved up and I can loan you $1,800. That's the first thing you said to me. Mm-hmm. How are you supposed to pay it back?
There wasn't no arrangement to pay it back.
Is that right?
No, ma'am. Absolutely not. He was supposed to pay me back out of his tax return.
Out of his tax return?
This year.
Well, you gave him the money in May. Mm-hmm. He had already gotten his tax refund back.
No, ma'am, he has not.
He didn't?
No, ma'am. He's just getting his tax refund back.
When? When are you getting your refund back?
Well, honestly, Your Honor,
No, don't honestly. Did you get a refund back on your taxes for last year?
No, I did not, ma'am.
Are you expecting it?
No.
Did you tell her you were expecting it?
No, I did not.
That is a lie, Your Honor. Yes, he did. That's the only reason why I loaned it to him. I don't have no money to just give nobody.
Your answer here is the only thing I'm guilty of is taking advantage of a friend, which I'm apologetic for. How did you take advantage of your friend?
Not her.
Who?
Honestly, it wasn't nobody, ma'am.
Well, that's what you wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Judy continues.
Mrs. McCraney?
I earn monthly about $1,800.
And how much do you earn monthly, or every 2 weeks?
I get paid every week, so about $450.
So you earn about the same thing?
Right.
Do you have children?
Yes, I have one.
How old?
11.
Child live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
You have children?
Yes, ma'am.
How many?
Just one.
That child does not live with you?
No, ma'am.
That child is a minor?
Yes, he's 9 years old.
Mm-hmm. You pay child support?
I just give
money.
money.
You give what you can?
Yes.
I got it. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Get a car so he can get back and forth to work.
She actually gave the money to me, sir.
But that didn't work.
We was dating. I mean, because
If she needed money for a car, I would have gave it to her.
He wanted to do what he wanted to do with his money and don't pay back his loans.
So that's what it was all about.
You were renting a room, according to your complaint, from one of the defendants.
Betty.
I know. You're Miss Frazier. You were renting a room from which one of you? And your last name is?
Anderson.
From Miss Anderson. Miss Anderson, how did you find the plaintiff as a roommate?
I've known her for a while, and she went in and had surgery done, and she had nobody to take care of her after the surgery. So I volunteered her to come to my home, and till she got better.
Do you work?
Yes.
Who do you work for?
I'm a massage therapist.
Miss Frazier, and how do you support yourself?
I have Social Security.
How long have you known Miss Anderson?
A couple of years, but our
Where did
kids
you
went
meet
to
her?
school together.
Where did you meet her?
Actually, in Pollock Pines a few years back.
When did you begin renting a room from them?
The end of May.
And how much was your rent?
$300 and half the utilities.
At some point in June, you were leaving. You were going out of town for a while.
Yes.
And according to you, you left the rent. You went to the bank and you took out cash.
Yes.
To leave for June's rent. Are you okay? Do you want to sit down?
I have my witness here that can testify for that.
About what?
About leaving the rent money.
Who's your witness?
Crystal.
How is she related to you?
She's not. She just gave me a ride to go get the money, and she witnessed me putting it in the envelope on the sink.
Crystal Encinas.
How do you know?
My mom's her in-home service worker. She's the one that does caregiving for her. My mom was unable to take her that day. I was able to get off work, and I took her around 6:30. It was June 3rd, right before she was leaving. We went to Safeway and took her to the ATM so she could pull some money out, and then we went to Safeway. And she's unable to carry groceries in, so I took in water and put on the counter, and as she was doing that, she said, "Oh, let me remember to put the rent," and I saw her put in a pink envelope and put it on the counter next to the water, and then I left at the residence that she was living with, Kathy.
So you just left her. She says, I have to leave rent money.
Yeah, she said, I'm going to leave this, because I reminded her, I said, don't forget to leave it on the counter, because she was leaving the next day with her mom, and that's kind of what my mom does, with her daughter, to fly out, because her sister had passed away. And so I left after I made sure that all her groceries were put away and everything, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, now, at some point, it is your claim, Miss Anderson, that the place was ransacked and robbed. And was that when your property was taken, as well as Miss Frazier's?
Yes.
During that robbery?
Yes.
You actually think Miss Frazier was the one who stole all that property?
Yes.
Doesn't look to me as if she can carry away a whole bunch of property.
Her daughter told my son.
Did you have a conversation with her daughter?
Yes, I did.
What's her daughter's name?
Kathy?
What's your daughter's phone number?
530-88.
Do you know if that's her phone number?
Yes.
It is?
Yes.
Tell me your last name.
Gertz.
Mr. Gertz, when did you have this conversation with her daughter, Kathy?
I don't know the date.
Was that after the Anderson apartment was robbed?
Yes.
What made you call Kathy?
I didn't call her. She called me, and she wanted to thank me for a game that I gave her. And I was like, what game? And she goes, a sprint car video game. And I told her, I didn't leave no game there. And she goes, well, there's a game here that you left me. And I was like, no. And she goes, well, there's some other things also that I think might be yours. That's when she told me about the items that were taken from the house.
Well, she didn't know that they were taken from the house.
Well, she had
She didn't know that they were taken with that, but did you move in with your daughter?
I lived with my daughter before I rented.
After?
Yeah, after, yes.
You lived with your daughter?
Yes.
Are you living with your daughter, Kathy, now?
No.
No. Who are you living with now?
I'm living by myself now.
Who does Kathy live with?
Her grandmother passed, and she's living in her grandmother's house right now in the Bay Area.
Who owns that house?
Her grandmother.
Oh, her grandmother's dead. So now who owns
I'm
the
not
house?
sure.
What?
Probably her son. I'm not sure.
And when did she move into the house?
She left about April.
And your house was robbed August. Where was she living in August?
Bay Area.
In her grandmother's house. Did you see her?
I haven't seen her since.
Since when?
April.
So when you spoke to her, allegedly, Mr. Gertz, and I'm not accepting this for the truth of it, but I'm trying to figure out which team you are, the good guys or the bad guys. When you spoke to her and she said she had things in the house, what house?
Her house.
In the Bay Area?
No. At her mobile home in Placerville.
She have a mobile home?
We bought a mobile home together. She moved out. I stayed there.
She moved out when?
In April.
Did she ever come back?
No.
Well, you weren't living there.
I had left.
Because you had surgery.
Because we were going to sell the house. I moved in with her, and things didn't work out, so I came back to the mobile. And in the meantime, her grandmother got sick and she went to the Bay Area.
Is what you're telling me, Mr. Gertz, that her daughter Kathy related to you that her mother and 3 men took property from the home? I want you to be very careful what you tell me.
Yes and no. She called me and told me that...
she had the video game.
Yes, the video game, two Xboxes, and a stereo receiver that I had in my room.
You live there also?
Yes.
Okay, and what did you say?
I was like, really? And she's like, why'd you take my stuff? You know, I had nothing to do with what's going on between you and my mom, so why'd you take my stuff?
Oh, so which one is your mother?
Kathy.
What was going on between them, Mr. Gertz?
Actually, I don't really know, you know, because I want to stay out of it, but I know that my stuff got taken.
Now, what was going on between the plaintiff and your mom?
They were disputing.
Disputing what?
Money that was supposed to be left there, and it wasn't left there.
You mean this cash for money for the rent?
Yes.
So now I have you speaking to Kathy and some stuff that was yours turned up in the mobile home.
Yes.
Got it. Now, she didn't take all this stuff.
No.
Who did?
I don't know. From what she told me, that she had three people that came and helped her.
Who told you that?
Betty.
That's Betty.
Yes.
Now, so that makes my life easier. Tell me when you had this conversation with Betty. You said, why would you take my stuff?
Right.
Because I didn't do anything to you. I'm not having a dispute with my mother over the rent that she allegedly left, that somebody else took. Why did you take my stuff? What did she say?
That she didn't do it, that the guys that helped her, whatever, might have grabbed it, she would
The
try
guys
to
that helped her.
get her stuff.
So she had guys come and help her move her stuff.
Well, she had to because she don't really, you know, she doesn't move too good, you know?
No, I know. But she said to you, the guys that I make in your stuff?
Yes.
Is that what she said to you?
Yes.
When did she have this conversation with you?
A couple days after I talked to Kathy. I'm not too good with dates, but it was like a week after I talked to Kathy.
And where did this conversation take place?
Over the phone.
You called her?
Yes.
She answered you?
Yes.
So this is what your lawsuit is. Your lawsuit is that somebody took your stuff.
I went to the Bay Area to my daughter,
I understand. Your lawsuit accuses the defendants of taking your stuff.
Yes.
Tell me when they took your stuff and what proof you have that they took your stuff.
Okay, I have pictures of my belongings in her house. Okay?
Yeah. And?
I went to the Bay Area with a suitcase.
I don't care.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You wrote to her, all your stuff is at Goodwill in Folsom.
I told her to go look at Goodwill in Folsom.
No, that's not what you wrote. No, that's not what you wrote. You wrote, all your stuff is at Goodwill in Folsom, and then you called her a name.
And later today.
This is your first car?
No, second.
What happened?
Sorry. The date slip goes.
Don't speak.
Okay, sorry.
I'm just waiting for her to turn off the phone, which is actually what you were told to do before.
Okay.
Can't you just turn it off?
Says former roommate Kathy Anderson and Kathy's friend Terry Worley stole her property and threatened her. Property damage and stolen belongings.
Yeah. What?
That's all I have.
No,
she kept everything for something that she needed extra cash. Her girlfriend started texting me really nasty texts saying she needed more money. For what? Probably for drugs. But she needed more money, and I told her I'd already paid her money.
Okay. Is that the proof that you have pictures of your stuff, and when you came back, your stuff wasn't there?
She texts me and tells me that she has my things. I'm on a train.
Now, just a second. I would like to see the text where she says she has your things.
Right here.
Do you want to see if you can get her a stool or something first?
And here's a police report, and after...
No, I don't want a police report. I want to see the text
right there
where she says she has your stuff. Who's Terry? Well, you said to her all of her stuff is in Goodwill.
No, that was the day after because
Just a
I
second.
told her...
All your stuff is at Goodwill in Folsom.
She didn't answer the phone for 5 weeks. That's
Just a
not
second.
true.
I'm just asking you.
I said
you wrote to her, all your stuff is at Goodwill in Folsom.
I told her to go look at Goodwill in Folsom.
No, that's not what you wrote. Goodwill in Folsom, and then you called her a name.
I called her a lot of names. I'm sorry, but she wouldn't respond to any of our phone calls for 5 weeks.
She said all your stuff is at Goodwill in Folsom.
I got her to respond that way. She wouldn't answer the phone for anybody. And then I have a text where she said she wasn't coming back. She told Kathy she wasn't coming back. It's in my text.
Mr. Gertz, I have one question for you. Did you ever get your stuff back from Kathy?
Yes.
You got it all back?
Yes.
What did you get back?
2 Xbox games and my stereo receiver.
Did you physically go to the trailer to get them back? On what date?
I don't know.
So that's why you're not a plaintiff in this cross complaint, because you got all your stuff back.
basically.
What basically? What is that basically supposed to mean?
I got my stuff back.
When you went to get your stuff back, was any property there that belonged to your mother? Is not an answer.
I want to say that there was some blankets that my grandmother made that I seen, some Afghans or something like that.
But you got your stuff back.
Yes, ma'am.
Your case is dismissed. We're done. Thank you.
Everybody's excused. You may step out.
She's got a drug problem. I know that she's taken like 10 Oxycontins a day, so she's probably misconstrued.
She wanted more money.
Everything was fine. She just left to go to the funeral and never came back.
That's why I was moving out.
I provoked her pretty violently, verbally.
I can't trust anybody.
Just can't trust everybody.
And Nuss versus Morgan. Step forward.
Gloria Cox is suing Adrian Morgan for a refund of a car down payment.
This is not a difficult case. Ms. Cox, you wanted to get a used car for your granddaughter?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Morgan had a used car lot. He was somebody that you knew. He had been a friend, contacted him, and ultimately went in with your granddaughter and purchased a car. On what date?
That was on the 22nd of September, Your Honor.
Of this year?
Yes, ma'am, 2016.
Okay. And the purchase price of the car was $3,200?
Originally, he had came to, with all the taxes and stuff, $3,700.
$3,700?
Yes, ma'am.
And you gave him a $500 deposit?
Yes, ma'am.
And signed the paperwork?
Yes, ma'am.
And your granddaughter, this is your granddaughter, she drove the car off the lot?
The next day, she picked up the car.
So that would be on September 23rd?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you with her when she picked up the car?
No, I wasn't.
Stand up here a second. Your last name is?
Jones. Jones.
Ms. Jones. When you picked up the car on September 23rd, where did you go?
After I picked up the car? I think I went home.
I want you to think. It wasn't so long ago. Where did you go? You picked up the car. What time did you pick up the car? Don't answer for her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is the four corners of the contract. He could tell you, I'm going to guarantee this car for your... Doesn't say that. In this written contract, it doesn't exist. It's called pupping.
Adrian Morgan sold her an Acura that turned out to be a lemon. She is suing for the return of her deposit.
Okay. What time did you pick up the car?
After I got out of school. So it was about 2 or 3. I told him I'll be there.
2 or 3. And this is your first car?
No, second.
What happened?
Sorry. Did they slip around?
Don't speak.
Okay, sorry.
I'm just waiting for her to turn off the phone, which is actually what you were told to do before.
Okay.
Can't you just
off.
turn it off?
Power off.
What happened to your first car?
The engine went out. It was
just a second.
Overheated.
The engine went out with the first car that you got. After how long?
Maybe a month after I had it.
And do you remember where you got that car from?
No, because I didn't go with my aunt to buy it. She bought it for me.
Is this your aunt or your grandmother?
This is my grandmother.
So your aunt bought you the other car, and you didn't go with her. She gave you that car. You had a short period of time and the engine blew.
Yes.
And when was that?
It was in June.
So you were without a car for a couple of months, and your grandmother pitched in and bought you this car. Now you have a new car that you want to show off. So you picked up the car, and now I want you to think, where did you go?
To get the oil changed.
Why did you go and get the oil changed?
Because my uncle told me that when I first get a car, I should always get an oil change.
You went to who?
Valvoline.
Okay, so you went to a place and had them work on the car?
Yes.
And you drove there?
Yes.
And do you remember how long they worked on the car?
It was probably for like 15 minutes. It wasn't that long.
And then where did you go?
Just driving around.
Did you pick up any friends?
Yes, I had friends with me. They was already with me.
They went with you to pick up the car?
One friend did, yes.
And then did you pick up other friends?
Not that same day.
The next day?
Yes.
And how many friends did you pick up the next day?
2.
Was the next day a school day?
It was a school day, but it was senior skip day.
What does that mean?
That's the day you don't go to school. You go to the beach, but I never went to the beach.
A skip day, they call it?
Yes.
It's a what?
Senior skip day. They all skip out.
So the next day you had, which is now the 24th, right? September 24th, you took 3 of your friends and went to skip day. Where did you go?
We never got to go to the beach because my car was acting up. And plus my dad said no. So we just drove around, basically.
So you drove around. Where did you drive to?
Oak Ridge side of town.
And how many miles is that away from where you picked up the girls?
I don't know, maybe like...
How long did it take you to get there?
10, 15 minutes.
Can I see the contract, please? So what happened is ultimately within, I don't know, a couple of days, engine with the car, and you brought the car, Miss Cox, back to Mr. Morgan, and you want your deposit back.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor.
Yeah, you don't get your deposit back. This car is sold as is. It says right here in the contract.
Yes, even though, Your Honor, he promised after I told him it broke down the second day after she got this car, and she took it to get an oil change, and they said they already had an oil leak.
Just a second.
In it.
As is.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what your contract says. As is.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
With my friend to go pick up the car the same day, he said, if you have any problems with this car, you can come back.
I don't care. This is the written contract. This is the four corners of the contract. He could tell you, I'm going to guarantee this car for your lifetime. If it doesn't say that in this written contract, which is the four corners of the contract, it doesn't exist. It's called puffing. Have any problem with the car? Bring it right back and I'll take care of it. So that was a very expensive 2 days you drove around in this car. And the next time you buy a car, I suggest you take it to a mechanic. You make that arrangement and you let a mechanic look at it and say, now I'll buy the car. But if you sign a bill of sale and a contract, and this bill of sale and this contract says, as is, that's how you purchase the car. So fortunately, you didn't have 2 days. It cost your grandmother $500. We're done. Thank you.
Step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I thought that was pretty dirty of you.
Well, I sold her a good car.
You guaranteed me you would give her a reliable ride back and forth to school.
They satisfied with the car.
You need $350 more to get an engine.
I asked her to pay for the motor, and we installed it free.
The defendant's dog bit your dog in a dog park.
Yes.
All the dogs were off leash.
Yes.
When did this happen?
On August 28th, a Sunday early morning.
How long have you been taking your dog to the dog park?
About 3.5 years daily.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a greyhound.
He, she?
She.
How much does she weigh?
About 65.
And you, Mr. Yoakum, what kind of dogs do you have?
German Shepherds.
How many?
3.
And how long have you been taking them to the park?
Well, I haven't had all of them since I've been going to the dog park, but I've been going to that dog park for probably roughly the same time, 3 to 3.5 years.
How many dogs were you with on the 28th of August?
4.
You're 3, and who else is?
I have a 13-year-old white Samoyed, another dog.
So you have 4 dogs?
Correct.
And you had all 4 off-leash?
Yes.
Did you witness Miss Haygood's dog getting bitten?
I don't believe her dog got bitten.
She'll show me the vet.
Okay.
Did you witness an interaction between your dog and hers?
Yes, I did.
I want you to tell me what you observed.
Well,
right here. I want you to tell me what you observed. I read your answer, so now you tell me what the interaction was that you observed.
her dog was crossing the dog park. There was other dogs coming in the fence line, and we call it fence talk, or, you know, it's typical for the dogs to all run up to the fence. Her dog's coming across the dog park at 30-ish miles an hour. My dog had also taken off to, you know, go fence Nala of this particular dog. That
How old is that dog?
Nala is probably 4 to 5 years old at this time.
Mm-hmm.
So Nala's going as well. You know, the other multiple dogs usually will get riled up when one dog takes off, which her dog went first, and it sets other dogs in.
Just tell me what you observed.
What I observed was her dog veered left. There was a tree in the park as it was running to the fence, and my dog T-boned the side of her dog, not anticipating that action
Don't
out of her
tell me
dog.
what your dog anticipated or didn't anticipate.
Okay.
Just tell me what you saw.
I saw my dog.
Your dog T-boned her
The side
dog
of her
mid-sex,
dog.
the side.
Correct.
Okay, good. Now, may I see the vet reports, please? I'll take a look at the photograph also.
This.
Where's the vet's report? This is the bill. Where's the
That's the treatment plan that they gave me. It says what the different items that they're planning to do.
You mean your vet doesn't write down what their findings were?
No, they just say what procedures they're going to do.
Okay. What I'd like you to do is to show this to Mr. Yogi.
Son, yes?
And you think that that's from your dog T-boning her dog?
Absolutely.
With what?
They have sharp collars on, and just to
Wait, just a
state.
second. Who has a sharp collar?
Oh, my dog has dog tags on, collar. We have a chain on her, plus her collar. There are sharp objects on her collar, absolutely.
Either way, if you keep the sharp collar on her, that's your responsibility.
For an incidental of 2 dogs running into each other in a dog park?
That's if I accept what you're telling me happened. Did you call at any time, sir? Because she has her phone here.
Uh-huh.
Did you call Miss Haygood at any time
I did.
that day? Where did you get her number from?
From a woman at the dog park.
Prior to the 28th of August, had you ever called Miss Haygood before?
No.
She wasn't a friend of yours.
An acquaintance at the dog park.
But you didn't have her phone number?
No, absolutely not.
No. And I'd like you to tell me what the purpose was for you calling her on the 28th of August.
I felt awful.
So you called up to say you felt awful, even though, according to you...
My original reaction to it is I was going to take some responsibility.
And then what changed your mind?
Well, for one, I got a letter stating that my dog had bitten her dog, and I don't believe that happened.
Okay,
A Greyhound's code is very thin.
What's next?
What's next?
I read your answer, and I read her complaint, and from what you just said to me, I don't understand it, and I'm not an expert on greyhounds, but you started to say a greyhound's skin is when she says in her complaint that what you said to her at the time was if it wasn't a greyhound, it wouldn't have been injured.
That's a very good chance of that would not have been punctured, yes, or whatever you want to say. I mean, I'm not using the word dog bite. And just can I say this? If you were going to be in a car accident and you knew you were going to rear end another car or run into something, the last thing you would do was open your mouth on your steering wheel or something. I mean, if my dog's mouth was open, it's because it said, oh, I can't say the words, and it hit. I mean, it was a hard collision.
Mr. Yoakum, I have to tell you that I actually don't think, based upon what the plaintiff tells me, and if this is all you have to tell me, correct? I mean, he described the incident. You say his dog bit yours. He said that they ran into each other, right? You don't have anything else to tell me about his dog. You don't have any proof of any prior incidents with his dog. Do you have any proof with you with regard to any prior incidents with this dog from animal control or anyone else? Any authority?
No.
Well, let me tell you what my view is with regard to people who take their dogs to dog parks, unless somebody knowingly takes a vicious dog to a dog park and they have prior knowledge that their dog is that kind of vicious. That if you take your dog to a dog park and your dogs are off leash, and if there is an incident, you have to take care of the incident yourself. More under your control than Mr. Yoakum's dog was under his control. Neither dog were under your immediate control, either by way of the leash or within 2 feet. According to both of you, they were running free. And there might be incidents. They're 2 large dogs. So if you want to prevent that, then you keep your dog on a leash and you don't take the dog to a dog park. Unless, of course, Mr. Yoakum had prior knowledge that there were prior incidents involving his dog, which would be your burden to show me. But I believe that you assume a certain amount of risk when you take your dog to a dog park, don't you?
Yes.
Yes, you do. And if you said my dog was under my control, but his dog was not under his control, well, that's a different story. But both dogs were out of the control of their owners. So I don't think he has any responsibility. So it's not that the greyhound's skin was too thin, or maybe it was the collar, or maybe it was the dog tag, or maybe it was something else. I think that people who take their dogs, large or small, to a dog park have to recognize that sometimes dogs will be dogs. Their conduct isn't always predictable. And what might get them riled up one day would necessarily the next day. And they may get into a frenzy because there are lots of other dogs there doing lots of other things. So I don't think Mr. Yoakum actually has any responsibility to you. And I think that if you have a dog and you want that dog to be safe, you keep the dog on a leash and you walk it. And if you...
All parties in the matter, Francisco versus Vedder. Step forward.
Megan Francisco is suing her former friend, Elizabeth Vedder, for falsely accusing her of illegally depositing a check.
Ms. Francisco, you and the defendant were friends. And based upon what I read, you were also in the military together. That's
Yes,
how you met. When you were no longer in the military, you became roommates.
Yes.
And while you were roommates, you had to go to jail for a period of time for what?
DWI, ma'am.
Now, at that time, you were roommates.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to you, Miss Vader told you that while she was going to be in jail, you should take her disability check. You were getting disability for some reason?
Yes, I hurt myself at work, so I was waiting for a disability check.
And used that disability check to pay her portion of the rent.
Yes, ma'am.
According to you, you did that, and then you gave the rest of the money to her when she was released.
Yep.
Then what happened, Miss Vader is released from jail, and she's going over her finances, and she sees that she's missing a disability check. She contacts her employer, who contacts disability, and says that the check was cashed by you. So she notified your bank that there was a fraudulent transfer of money, and they removed money from your bank. So your lawsuit against her is for falsely reporting that you had fraudulently cashed a check. Am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge Elizabeth Vedder falsely accused her of illegally depositing a check.
On what date did you receive this check?
I deposited the bank into my account on 7/13/2015. I have the evidence here.
Who endorsed the check?
I wrote paid to the order of and wrote my name, and then...
No, did you write her name?
Yes, I did.
So you forged her name?
As she requested, yes, I did, ma'am. My witness, my friend Stephen Brooks, was there when I had the call from her when she was in jail, telling me to cash the check.
Well, it was on its face. You forged her name, and wrote the check payable to your account.
Yes, ma'am.
On what date did you go to jail?
I was arrested on, I believe it was the July 10th.
Had you paid July's rent?
No, and my rent was due on the 10th, and I was waiting on this check. It was supposed to come the next day.
And on what day were you released from jail?
The July 14th, ma'am.
Were you sober when you were arrested?
No, ma'am.
When did you sober up?
Probably the moment I got to the jail.
Now, when you called Miss Francisco, what did you tell her to do about your rent that was due on the 10th?
I actually didn't call Miss Francisco. I called another friend of mine that I actually had the number of. And I said, hey, will you let her know that I'm in jail? I'm going to be here. I don't recall saying have her cash my check. That wasn't something that I recall saying, but I just had my friend tell her that I was in jail so that I couldn't.
Well, how was she supposed to cover your part of the rent, and how much was your part?
$.
When you got out of jail on the 14th, where did you go to live?
I went back to where I was living with Megan.
Until when?
I moved out November 1st.
Okay, so you lived there July and August and September. I would like to see proof that you paid July's rent, August's rent, September, and October's rent. Do you understand what I just said?
I do understand.
I wanted
ma'am.
to see proof that you paid July's, because what this case is about is she said she paid your part of July's rent because you couldn't pay it because you were in jail, and she paid it out of this check, which you authorized her to cash. Now, if that's not the case, then the first thing you would have done when you came out is pay July's rent.
Correct.
Proof.
Since we were friends, we didn't, unless she kept record. I just gave her money when I had rent, and it wasn't like we made receipts. It was, we were friends. So.
No. Now you're out in July and you're sober.
Yes.
So you knew July's rent was due. So you had to have a conversation with her about July's rent.
I didn't, because she had paid it with the disability check.
Then you knew she paid it with the disability check.
But it wasn't $1,400.
How much was it?
$400.
And how much was the disability check?
$1,400.
Fine. So now we're talking about $1,000.
Yes, ma'am.
So now paid your rent from the disability check for July.
Yes, ma'am.
Something that you didn't acknowledge in your answer.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Closed captioning.
Okay, if you acknowledge that she paid from your disability check that she had to have cashed.
But illegally.
My question to you is, why did you continue to live with her? Since you knew she cashed the check in July, you knew she paid the rent in July, you knew the check was for $1,400 in July, right? You continued to live with her in August. Did you pay August's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
You didn't say to her, well, eat up the amount that was over for my disability check. You paid September's rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and you paid October's rent.
Yes, ma'am.
Even though you thought that she stole $1,000 from you?
So if I told her to go rob a bank and she did it, it would be okay?
Did you return the $1,000 to her?
Yes, I did, ma'am, and Stephen Brooks was a witness.
He actually wasn't.
I'm glad he wasn't a witness to give you the $1,000. I don't believe a word you said.
Okay.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. We're done. Mr. Taylor, you were selling a Rottweiler.
That's correct.
Rottweiler that was 18 months old, a year and a half old. A Rottweiler for which you had no papers.
Correct.
Who did you buy the dog from?
I bought the dog from one of my wife's classmates.
And he had no papers for that dog because the one or both of the parents didn't have papers, were not registered with the American Kennel Club.
That's correct.
Okay, so you have actually no idea whether they're purebred Rottweilers or not because there are no papers to prove that.
Correct.
Good. So did you buy that dog as a puppy?
Yes.
Why were you selling it?
I was selling Ebony because...
Don't look over there.
Okay.
Why were you selling... You bought the dog as a puppy.
Yes.
By the way, how much did you or your wife pay for the dog?
We paid $400 for Ebony.
Is that your only dog?
Yes.
Now tell me why you were selling it.
We were selling Ebony because she had become disobedient toward my wife.
A little aggressive.
Yes.
So you were selling an aggressive dog. I'm just following this, Mr. Taylor. There's a reason for this. So you were selling a dog for which you paid $400 as a puppy. And as we all know, puppies are a more valuable commodity than adult dogs because people want puppies so that they can train them themselves. It's a sort of a natural thing, especially if you're going to buy a puppy, a dog, rather than rescue a dog, you get a puppy. So now, a year and a half later, you're selling it's become aggressive, and you're selling the dog, and you wanted, according to you, $800 for the dog. So twice as much as what you paid for it. Now, it's been devalued as a result of two things. Its age and the fact that it has become so aggressive towards your wife, because most of the time, if you have a puppy, even if it becomes a little bit testy. You say, oh, but it's my testy and I love it. A big Rottweiler, once it becomes testy, you don't want to have it around anymore. So you were selling this dog and you wanted twice as much money. The defendant comes to you and says, you know what? I like the dog. I breed dogs. I'll give you $300 for the dog. That's what he offered you for the dog. According to you, you said, I'm not going to take that. And then, according to you, you say he said to you, well, I'll give you $300 and I'll give you 2 puppies from a litter and the pick of litter from the first litter that they have because I'm going to breed Ebony, your dog, with my Rottweiler. And that's what this case is about. You're suing him for $1,600 for a dog that you paid $400 for that was aggressive. And he says, no way. I gave him $300 for the dog and offered him a puppy from the next litter if he wanted a puppy from the next litter. So you actually bred the dogs, which I think is probably a stupid. Have a dog. Did he explain to you he was selling the dog because it had become aggressive?
No, not like that.
Is it an aggressive dog?
No, ma'am.
Not. So it was just aggressive in their home.
Exactly.
So the dog clearly, maybe it's a female dog, so maybe it liked him, didn't like the competition of the wife. You never know. You know, dogs are like people.
Yeah.
They really are like people. But the dog is fine in your home.
It was fine in my home. Yes, ma'am.
Great. So you bred the 2 dogs, even though one didn't have papers and yours did.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I know.
Because then you have to sell those puppies without papers.
Right.
By the way, why would you do that?
Well, it's a hobby of mine.
Okay. So how much did you sell the 7 puppy or whatever number of puppies that you actually sold? How much did you sell them for?
Well, y'all know what happened was